Hello everyone and welcome to the 49th episode. Fuck, es tut mir so leid.
You're listening to In Response, a legacy podcast. A show where three handsome guys talk about their favorite Magic the Gathering format, Legacy. This show is brought to you by createness@anycost.com and austrian-legacy.com. You can support the show at patreon.com/response_legacy. And now, lean back and enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 49th episode, Vienna Breakfast of
In Response.
A legacy podcast.
I'm Philip Klein
I am Daniel.
And I'm Peter Plank.
and we're talking about legacy.
Most of the time.
That was a really nice intro this time. So thank you for our patrons, Matt Duncan and Christian Neutz, for making all this possible. If you want to join this elite club of patrons, go to patreon.com/response_legacy. And now we head into our episode.
So, guys, I have a question for you. And be honest, what is the most important meal of the day?
I'm pretty sure it's dinner.
It's everyone or every time you get to eat.
Or like in the Lord of the Rings, it was like the second breakfast or the...
Yes, there is breakfast and there
tea
is
time,
second breakfast and tea time. Yeah.
Second breakfast, lunch,
Yeah.
brunch, lunch, and then there's
Afternoon tea and whatever.
Was this from Gimli?
No. This was
Merry and
from
Pippin.
Merry and Pippin.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, Peter, you need to get your facts straight.
educate yourself.
It's breakfast, of course. It was a really, really great weekend. We all went to...
No, not really, but yeah. Okay, you wanted to say we went to Vienna, yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
We went to Vienna. And, well, I myself enjoyed a healthy, nutritious breakfast there at the 1K.
It was
In
a little
Vienna.
bit fishy.
It was a little bit fishy.
Oh my God, the puns are incredible.
Yeah. It was different than a Squid Game that I would have liked, but it is a made to bet
Wow!
of the 1K Vienna 3-for-1 kind of that we had. And I think this would be, this is a good thing to debrief and
Talk about.
talk about it, yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I got demolished on this weekend. So that's enough said.
You didn't choose the right deck, you know?
Yeah, the right deck would be Blue Red Delvo Initiative, am I right?
No, it would
No.
be breakfast, of
Or
course.
painter.
Painter.
Maybe. The Bob Ross was strong in this day.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice event organized again from the 3-for-1 shop in Vienna.
Ah.
We had like 54 players there. I think there were a lot. I mean, it was outsailed
Yeah.
before, but there was some trouble with the weather that some players couldn't arrive in time or at all there. So it was kind of okay. And we had a strong showing from our community.
Oh, yes. I think we were like 20 people, or
It was
21, I think.
20.
20 or
21, yeah.
21, yeah.
So almost half of Linzmeter. This is really nice. Upper Austria is tracking strong. Kind of, a community march to Vienna.
Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh. It was a really
this-
insane day, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's... the day was very strange. It was so... how do I say this? The day was incredible for community work. But it was so, fucked up just for playing it, for me, for results and everything.
Yeah. What was your record in the end?
I think I could have won against Christian, but I just offered him the draw because I felt a little bit bad. I won 2-0 and I said, well, let's just draw. That's okay. But I was already 1-4 for it this time.
Okay, yeah. So
So
kind
it
of
was so
out of all contention.
out of contention that you can't be. Yeah. The only match I won was against Red Black Phoenix, Burn List, something like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, even though my deck has an awful lot of life linkers and swords and Uros and whatnot, it was pretty close.
Yeah, this kind of speaks for the deck a little bit in a sense. This is oftentimes, even if you have these options, if they are clunky and if your opponent gets you in the right kind of spot, then these kind of tools can be kind of useless also.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's definitely
And
true.
sometimes you just can burn out, and the tempo is definitely a factor that you can't negate. Even when you have Uros, for example, or Cathy's.
Oh yeah. I'm still convinced Catherine is a good card, and I'm also still convinced that that we haven't seen her in a good or in the right shell as long as they aren't on MTGO.
I guess for that we can refer to our last episode when we talk about the differences between card magic and online magic, and this is actually one topic in there. Just a side note.
Oh yeah, check it out. It was a great episode.
Yeah, it seems like the deck is just a little bit too slow to compete in the current meta.
Yeah, that's true. Although I played the White Plume Adventurers 4 off, and
did you play it with 4 nobles?
Yeah, with 4 nobles to be faster. But I actually gotta say the White Plume Adventurers weren't really that strong.
Okay.
It felt more like the stronger card of the initiative deck is definitely Seasoned Dungeoneer. It's insane actually how fast and how big this thing gets. It's scary. White Plume Adventure on the one hand is just like, it's the free drop that enables the initiative, but that's most of the time it's not really a problem. You've got Icefang Coatls or Strixus or something.
Yeah. I guess one of the ideas behind this is initiative in a sense, and White Plume Adventurer in particular is designed to work as a proactive card that is not really impactful when you are behind already. So when you're drop taking the card and you're facing 2 creatures, I mean, what does White Plume Adventure for you? Nothing,
nothing.
And this is the problem also probably with this kind of deck when you are, and it is, I would consider it as a mid-range deck actually. It is not really a control deck.
No, not really.
And it's also not really a tempo or proactive deck because you have forces, because you have reactive spells, and you're not really looking to carve out or go proactive with what initiative wants to do with turn 1 play a 3-drop and turn 2 follow it up ideally with a 4-drop and stuff like this. This is not what the band deck that you played is up for. So in that sense, maybe White Plume Adventurer would not be the perfect fit for this deck.
Yeah, I totally felt so. For sure. It's a little bit sad, but I actually picked the deck apart again. And I'm still trying to find my place in the current meta. It's for me that's not really easy. I mean, I took a look at Death Shadow, like we talked in the pre-show. But I don't want to learn a deck that's really tuned for this meta and maybe falls out of favor rather sooner than...
Could be definitely the case. I mean, it depends on what Wizards wants to do with the meta. For the time being, Death Shadow is definitely a good choice. It also made Tobet, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
For this event. And I think it was this kind of version with Greaves and Reanimate.
Was my round 1 opponent.
Yeah. It is a strong deck, definitely. But you need to really get the reps in for this deck.
Yeah, because
it's not that
you're always... even when you're watching it, it feels like you're living on the edge all the time. It's never you have to navigate each matchup so closely, and it's actually I play to have fun a little bit, and that's just too much for my liking.
Yeah, it's a really hard deck. But it rewards.
Yeah,
That's-
for sure,
that's-
It's rewarding,
That's
yeah.
there.
I think this is kind of where we could actually scratch some magic theory inside. I think this deck would be a perfect example that is a trap for players that are focusing on value too much. Because value is something like card advantage, like 2-for-1s, whatever. But value is a way to win, to go bigger than an opponent. But also, what you can do is go the tempo route, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This deploying a threat huge, then investing cards like Grief, exiling a black card and whatever, take their removal spell, then play a Death Shadow and ride it to victory. This is all, you know, if you would think long term, oh my god, what I'm doing, for example, when I'm grieving and I have like swords and I don't know, a lot of big bombs in the opponent's hand, you typically would think, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna die. But then you could maybe maneuver it in such a way that you deploy a quick threat and win before the cards in or the value for your opponent comes into effect. So this is also a way to win. And this is also, I think, one of the biggest reasons why Death Shadow is a possible or potentially a good deck in a format that has also Plowshares in it.
Yeah. Death Shadow is always a rather strange deck. It basically disappears overnight, and then it appears again, and that just gets results in. Then it disappears again, and it's always the same thing. Like, I think Death Shadow is a dead deck most of the year around. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Death Shadow is like a small group of, I want to call it elite players that really know the deck. And if they feel their current meta suits the deck, they will invest into the deck. And if they get the feel that Death Shadow is a little bit on the decline from a power level standpoint here, they will just switch the deck to whatever they played before or go to a new deck. But I think Death Shadow is like a really, really good deck to learn the format with.
Really? I'm not sure. I think my
Blue-Red
bet
Delver
would be Delver, yeah.
is better, but I think if you enjoy like the discard outlet too, it can be a deck to learn the format that you can invest into, and if you get good with it, it can be really rewarding.
You certainly need to accept
Get
the
good.
fact. Yeah, you get good and
You
need
will
to,
get smashed into the face.
yeah, exactly.
Really
All
hard.
the
You need to
fucking
accept
time.
the fact that you probably will lose a lot of the times at the beginning. Certain same stuff, like for example with Storm or other decks. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have a good learning curve. Like, how do I play my
Yeah.
watery graves? When do I go for basics? When do I go for
Exactly.
the underground sea? I think you have a lot of decisions that can be rewarding in the short term and in the long term.
Speaking of that short term, long term, I think one of the decks that can also do that is Painter, kind of.
Yeah.
So this brings it a kind of to your experience, Peter. What was your fare at the tournament?
I mean, it was kind of frustrating at first because played first round against Death Shadow, started off with a mulligan to 5, then played a land pest to my opponent. My opponent grieved me, reanimated his grief to put my second paint out of my starting hand, then double wasted at me, and yeah, that was game 1.
That physically hurts.
But yeah, it was okay. I played the second game well. Yada. Third game I lost. Felt a little bit hard because I mean, it didn't really prepare for the tournament, but I still felt confident because I felt the spark to paint again. And yeah,
Happy little incidents.
yeah, happy little incidents. But then it came to my mind, the first time I drew Fable was game 3 in my second match, which I also lost, against Naya Depths. Also kinda, yeah, I really played bad the second game, and then I got myself a break with a bye, and then won the last 3 rounds against Mono Black Helm, then against Jeff and Schütz on Blue-Red Delver, and I don't know the last round anymore, but I won. It was
were like-
slivers.
Okay, slivers.
You were like 4-2, right?
I
Something
was
like that.
4-2 at the end. Got myself $30 back, which was the entry.
Top 16.
Top 16. And yeah, the deck really felt good. Chaos Defiler is so good. And in Painter you can really hardcast your Furies too. So they don't really feel like as a
pitch card.
As a pitch card. You can hardcast it, you get some value out of it. And I think I won twice with the Painter kill from 10 wins, game wins. So yeah, Paint is really now a mid-range deck and not a combo deck anymore.
Wow.
But yeah, Goblin Welder is like so fucking good. But yeah, Painter really feels strong currently. And yeah, there are like sideboard cards like Seeds of Innocence and Meltdown, but they don't really feel that great against Paint anymore.
Yeah, it's fine. You have still your engine cards and
you need just a welder and an engineer.
Yeah.
But which sideboard cards would be really bad to play against?
Hydroblast and removal spells.
Okay, a Collector Roof?
The Collective is fine.
Collector Roof is fine, okay.
Because you don't kill with the combo. Kataki a little bit, but the biggest...
Nobody plays Kataki.
Just say. But the biggest problem is like if you remove all of the Weld and the engineer, you don't really have the engine going.
Okay, yeah.
I guess
something like a Leylon of the Void is really strong actually. Against Painter currently.
Yeah, it's not like that is game winning as well, but it's
you can still win with the combo.
Yeah, you can win with the combo, and you, of course, but the whole engine behind it, the grindy plan is kind of shut off in a sense.
Yeah, and you're mono red, so you can't really blow it up or something.
You can blast it with a Paint and Play, for example.
Yeah,
but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You would just go for saga tokens or
you
hardcasting
just
your
make
friends.
two sagas have 2 5/5 to attack your opponent.
That's the great thing about this Painter deck at the moment, because it's not really vulnerable to one single card, but more or less a combination of cards. It can also just lose to itself because it's still a non-blue deck. Yeah.
That's true. Which was exactly in the first match against Blue against Death Shadow.
Yeah.
I drew like 8 lands and neither of them were a black source.
Yeah.
And then I died against the 3/3 Death Shadow with a Chaos Defiler in hand.
Oh my god. That hurts.
But yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Oh yeah.
And
you know what? When you can have cookies, what would be a good time to have cookies?
breakfast. And how did your breakfasting adventure went, Daniel?
Pretty good actually. The only kind of devastating thing that I can report is during the whole event, and there was 6 rounds, I was only paired against Linz guys.
Oh my
6
god.
times against Linz guys. So
You killed us all off.
I kind of, yeah.
actually.
So somebody joked from us that said, okay, yeah, we are so many people, we are like 21, we can just push someone to the top 8. And it kind of did happen with myself. But I had pretty tough matchups. I had 2 times control for color control with breakfast. I had 2 times UR Delver. I had also what actually else?
Rhino?
No, yeah, I had rhinos,
drew.
but I drew. And then one more that I can't really remember at the moment. But it was still a very strong deck. But anyways, it was definitely a really good showing of how great and strong this deck is. I did not play with Stoneforge Mystic, and I think I spoiled this last time. So only Baleful Strix and Sagas and Vials. This is the perfect package that you need.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really love this list.
This is really
It seems
strong.
so clean.
Yeah.
It just looks so good.
It's really, really well oiled and works very well. But at the moment, sometimes you really have the feeling that, yeah, you're just playing some draft chaff, you know, Nomads and Core and Cephalid Illusionist.
Hardcast Nakumi, Bequeep Shuko.
Yeah.
Nakumi.
And sometimes it feels really, what? This feels so bad actually. But then after a certain point, your opponent really has to fear the combo. and then you just do the second piece. It's combo and you win. But of course, it's not that easy. You have to play around, a lot of interaction. For example, surgical is a big thing to have in mind. You can play around it by, for example, having a Thassa in hand, or
Milling only 3 cards at a time.
Yeah.
Wanting to hit 1 Cabal Therapy.
Before one of the pieces, but it's actually kind of only a 50-50 chance if you don't have the Thassa in hand. And there's also the possibility that your opponent might go for an Akomiba surgical. This is sometimes the case, or a problem if you have a Shoku kill. There's only sorcery speed. And besides that, what I'm really liked is, what really surprised me is the power level kind of Nomads in core against Delva. In my opinion, this was kind of the MVP card for me, because I have a lot of times I play, Baleful Strix. They typically try to ignore it sometimes, unless they want to go for a big Murktide and whatnot. But usually they save the removal spells from my combo pieces.
Yeah.
Obviously. And the thing is, Nomads and Core cannot be blasted. This is very beneficial for this. So they only can really bolt it or maybe unholy hit it. But you can redirect the damage from Nomads in Core to Baleful Strix, for example. So they kind of have to waste 2 removal spells that are not Pyroblast on the Nomads. So I honestly am really a big fan of this card as a 4-off in the main deck, specifically for the Delver matchup. And this happened twice to me, that I got to redirect my Nomads to a Baleful Strix and then protect it, and then afterwards save it. Save it and then go for the win. So overall, this was a really nice experience.
Because you said people are trying to surgically on Arcomoebas.
Sometimes.
Have you thought about splashing green for Memory's Journey?
Yes, there are lists popping here and there in the Discord that I have also read that are playing green for that reason. I personally don't like it, because I don't think you need or you want to add another color that weakens your whole deck for any draws of your opponent not having surgical.
Yeah, that's
so for each non-surgical case, your deck just is worse, kind of. And
It
I
doesn't
prefer.
work with Shuka.
It doesn't work with Shuko. Also,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You have to
Memory's
mill it
Journey is
first.
instant, right? So
Yeah, you have to mill it first or have it in your hand.
yeah, exactly. Also, yeah, and given that a lot of people play actually removal, and the Nomads is oftentimes not on the board, also you also have to accept that you have to go for the Shuko line if you don't really want it, because it's more consistent with the sagas. You can get it more easily. Yeah, in that sense, I like a straight up, or I had it in my sideboard, an extra copy of Thassa's Oracle, for example. I like it much more than
a Memory's Journey, yeah.
a Memory's Journey, for example.
Yeah, I can totally see this. The second Thassa's Oracle is really strong.
It basically comes in almost any matchup, due to this fact that you just can hardcast it, and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that was a line that I totally didn't know or fully missed, where I commentated on our weekly, and we had you on stream, and we won through a Leyland of the Void with a Thassa's Oracle in hand, and it was like, oh my gosh, you can just mill your deck.
Yeah.
You can just step through for Oracle, then mill your deck, and then hardcast it. What the fuck? How insane is this shit?
It was also on that very FNM or RLO event. It was off stream, but I played against Mono Black Helm combo, and my opponent had Leyland and activated Helm combo, and then I just wild in Tata in my upkeep.
Oh, how beautiful!
and yeah, I just won with that. It also works. So in that sense, I thought just to myself, thank you, because I didn't have the combo.
Yeah, you could also use this to win against Painter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that's
in that
nice.
sense, Painter is, I think, a tricky matchup. I haven't played it, but it's,
Painter must be really tricky.
Yeah.
But you kind of have the 6 blasts to...
To have the 6 blast, this is a problem. But blast combined with Nomads is kind of doing nothing. That's the good thing. Blast with Shuko lines, then of course is very strong.
Yeah, the thing is how it depends how good Chaos Defile is. Because like with Chaos Defile and with Goblin Welders, you have a lot of interaction to the board. So
You have
I
interaction
kind
with
of
the board.
feel that you can't really develop that big of a board.
Yeah,
but
that-
it really depends
that's-
how it plays out. We have to test it
Yeah.
on paper.
That would, of course, not be the plan for Breakfast. You just go for the combo in one turn.
Yeah.
You just play Nomads and Cephalid and then go off. That's the idea. And then, ideally, you need to just defend from one blast and all the other stuff is... Yeah, I mean, you can, of course, with Velda instantly have a removal spell at the ready, but if the combo is assembled, it's instant speed, so removal spells don't do anything.
Yeah, it depends more like if I can like Welder in and Chaos Defiler in response to the cast of the second creature and stuff like that.
Yes, then of course.
But that's pretty much everything.
Yep. Yeah, so a pretty great weekend. Last weekend there was not really Magic because of the pre-release.
Yeah, because we simply aren't playing this.
Yeah. We kind of
These
boycotting it.
tournaments. Yeah.
But speaking of that, there's a new card that we could talk about.
Oh, really? Is there something for Legacy in the new edition? I'm not sure.
I'm also not sure.
I think if we talk about this feels more like a minor misstep.
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about Gernöl Georg and his components. Gernöl Georgi.
The Mercurial Spell Dancer. It's 2 and a 1 for 1 and a blue. It's a creature for Rex and Rogue. Mercurial Spell Cancer can't be blocked.
Spell cancer.
Spell Dancer can't be blocked. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put an oil count on Mercurial Spell Dancer. Oh my god, now I can't unread it.
Yeah.
And whenever Mercurial Spell Dancer deals combat damage to a player, you may remove 2 oil counters from it. If you do, when you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what to think about this card. Peter, you said it's like the new Dreadhorde Arcanist.
No,
yeah, this was set by Max Torsion, right?
Yeah, it was set by Max Torsion. I am a little bit on board with it because as Dreaded Arcanist, this card needs some form of setup. The problem with it is you need the setup after you cast the card. With Dreaded Arcanist, you played your turn 1 Ponder, you dropped your turn 2 Dreaded Arcanist. With this, whatever you cast before, it doesn't really matter. But if you cast your turn 3 Ponder, Brainstorm, then you have 2 oil counters, then you can attack and get 1 oil counter. Which means you have to cast a 3rd spell in the 3rd turn, for example. But the thing is, I think it takes a similar role because it can't be blocked. It has a form of evasion in there. It is a value engine, but it isn't. Of course, it isn't as strong as Dreaded Arcanist. But I think it has some form of potential, I would say. It can be toyed around, but in the current meta, it's just too slow with initiative.
That's what I wanted to go on right here. It's like, this card looks really nice on the surface, but it, like you said, it needs so much setup. And with the new, or in the current initiative / Delver meta, I simply can't see it. I don't see it. It's just too fragile for my liking. It's a 2 and a 1. It dies to a stiff breeze. Unlike Dreaded Arcanist. Dreaded Arcanist was a 1/3.
A 1/3,
yeah.
It dies to everything too.
Yeah, it dies to everything. And you need to pump a lot of resources into it to even matter. I like the fact that it's blue and pitchable to force.
That's positive, yeah.
That's a positive. It deals 2, which makes the game fast a little bit.
Yeah, that's also
But
true.
the problem is like the setup has to be done after you cast the card. That's the problem for me, because it basically does nothing if you do stuff beforehand with like exiling stuff from a graveyard as Dreaded Arcanist did.
Yeah, and it's like, aren't we into today's era of sorceries on a stick?
You mean with creatures?
Yeah. And
Yeah, this is the
totally
thing
don't
that
feel like
this
it's
isn't
strong enough.
Yeah, this is definitely a 2-mana heavy investment for a deck like Devil that you just play and at the moment it does nothing. Kind of.
Snowball if it goes unchecked. Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the thing, or one big difference is, okay, if you compare Dreaded Arcanist to this card, you can, in theory, both play turn 2. For the first round, the thing that is going for Mercurial Spelldancer kind of is that you can get value immediately by putting oil counters on it for dazes or forces, whatever, that you can play. Dreaded Arcanist literally does nothing. But it all comes to the same effect because it needs to survive one turn, and then afterwards you can generate some value out of it. Dreaded Arcanist kind of doesn't really need some investment, is the big advantage.
Oh yeah. If I think about the back in the day when we played Dreaded Arcanist in the
you
meta.
just have the cards naturally, because turn 1 you
Cast
You
upon.
kind
pondered.
of, yeah,
Or you bolted your opponents of one
whatever, yeah. And you kind of have guaranteed kind of the resources, but Mercurial, it needs 2 extra cards, 2 extra spells. It needs to survive, and you need also to consider as a top deck is this card is, in my
Garbage.
opinion, really garbage.
Yeah. And don't you also need the third spell to
Yeah.
So
You
the
need
third
3
spell
spells, yeah.
that you
Yep.
cast has to be the good one.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be really, really strong if it's like an expressive iteration or whatever, but
But that's basically the expressive iteration is basically the ceiling in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at some point, double bolts or double blast, whatever, is also pretty, pretty strong, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Even double brainstorm or double ponder can definitely be value. But for this, that it needs so much setup, it's difficult. What I like is that it is unblockable. That's definitely for sure. Other than that, it's difficult. I mean, you can go turn 2 Mercurial plus Bobble. You can just...
Yeah.
You need to up the
Yeah,
Bobble
that's true.
count, which makes it a little bit more easier. But I'm also kind of hesitant in a sense that given the current format, it should be difficult.
And I think in the current format it doesn't have a place if the format goes slower for like 1 turn or something like that, which can happen if we remove like initiative out of the equation. I think it's possible that this deck or this creature can have some form of competition in the format, but in the current iteration of Legacy, I don't think it has its place.
Yeah, for sure.
What other cards do we have? There's another one that people really, really talk about.
There was like a thread about it that it's like completely broken and way too good, and we will have a remedy of something like 2015 or something like that.
Okay, hear me out. We're for sure talking about minor misstep here. So it's an instant for 1 blue, and it's what does it says?
It says counter target spell that costs 1 or less, or with mana value 1 or less.
Okay, I mean, it's okay-ish, in my opinion. It's definitely not the mental misstep.
Yeah, that's true.
It's blue. At first and foremost, it's blue. It's not 2 life. It's blue. So you're already fixed into the colors.
Yes.
Totally unlike mental misstep. It's like I don't see it. I don't see it.
I mean, it has some form of application, but if the spell would say countered target spell that was cast with 1 mana or less, I would like this spell.
Yeah,
Because
this
it
is-
counters a force,
Yeah.
it counters like the pitch cast from a grief or a fury, stuff like that. Then it would be really strong actually.
Then it would be great. Yeah, for sure.
But it feels like a worse spell pierce to me.
Yeah, because you're already trading maybe not even up on mana or you trade even with mana. You trade 1 card for 1 card and 1 mana for 1 mana. And which 1-drops do you really want to counter these days?
Dragon Rage Challenger, for example. But the problem is like that implicates you are on the play,
Yeah.
and your opponent doesn't have days.
Yeah. That's true.
Okay, probably I have one question that might maybe change your mind. How good is Chalice of the Void on 1 in the format?
I think it's okay.
Currently it's okay.
Not
It can
that-
be extremely good.
It can, yeah, for sure. It can be extremely good.
And this counters everything that is X1 or less.
Yeah, but the thing with Chalice is it's so great that you basically can't ever play anything again
True.
that's 1. And it's not like you
I think
countered my
this is the
Thrones.
thing.
Wow.
In any other format, even if you could consistently cast Chalice on 1, it's not really a good card. For example, if you compare it to Modern or whatever. Because Legacy is really a format that is heavily centered around 1 mana cost spells or less to a big extent. I think this card can really, really be impactful, potentially. I'm not fully convinced, but I think I personally acknowledge the potential. Just because a lot of key cards can be hit by this card. A lot of the times it would just act like a worse spell piece. At a certain point in time when you draw a spell piece and your opponent plays for it, this card is way, way better. Spell piece doesn't counter any threats, whatever. And even if you just counter a timely brainstorm, we shouldn't underestimate this countering.
You're right. You're totally right.
So I don't think this is that obvious that it is just worse than a spell
I
piece
think
or
the-
Flusterstorm or whatever. It's totally different.
I think the comparison is not like Minor Misstep to Chalice. I think
No, it's not the comparison.
When we compare it, I think it's like the comparison would be for me like Spellsnare to how's it called, the thing that you use with top to counterbalance. It's like
Counterbalance?
because like the thing with counterbalance, it counters on a timely basis for a long time over a game. But the thing with Minor Misstep, as we talked with Georgie, the spell dancer, the thing is that it's too reactive currently for the format. Especially it does nothing basically against initiative. I mean, it can't counter the Chromebox or the Lotus Petal, but if you use your counter
feels
spells,
just so bad.
yeah,
Oh my god, that feels so bad. Even if you're just trading one card for one card. I mean, wow. No,
I think
I'm still not convinced.
This is, in my opinion, a perfect card that you need to rethink, not as a value card. This is a tempo card and its own. And this is, I think, one thing that is definitely the potential here. Not that I counter something with big mana value or whatever, just that I counter the correct piece in a correct time frame. So just that my opponent stumbles, that gives me, I don't know, 1 turn extra.
I totally get it, but then I got a question.
For example, Daze. Compare it with Daze, for example. Daze is so strong.
Yeah, but Daze doesn't cost you mana.
But it sets you back one land, for example.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I know it doesn't cost mana.
it costs you mana in the long run.
Yeah,
That's true.
why is Delver playing 4 days when you just, if you compare it with Wasteland and stuff like this, opponent, if you waste, for example, your opponent can only then for 1 turn cast 1 mana spells. Then you counter it.
Yeah,
And stuff
okay,
like
I
this.
see it, yeah.
There's potential to really tempo out your opponent, I think.
I think there's potential here, but you have to think about it like at the top end of the counter spells. If you know what I mean. This isn't a thing that you will drop on turn 1 or turn 2. This is the thing that you counter an important spell on turn 4.
Yeah.
I think this
Can
is
also
what you
be-
mean. Yeah.
The thing, yeah, exactly. I mean that this is that makes this card, in my opinion, good is that it is able to do that.
Yeah.
It's also good in turn 1 or 2.
This is the
It's
thing
not-
that
yeah.
counters the swords to plowshares on your
Exactly.
Death
When
Shadow.
you have your Murktide reaching out, you attacked once, and then your opponent I don't know, wants to cantrip for the swords or wants to cast the swords, you just can't counter it
Okay.
safely,
Okay.
and
yeah.
then then you win.
Well, okay. Now that's the place where you got me. If I see it like that, I mean, I can totally. Then it takes a whole different dimension.
Yeah.
Actually, if you go more from the value side, it's like,
I would agree.
It just feels so incredibly bad.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's fine, countering a one. It's like trading 1 mana for 1 mana, or 1 for 1. It's even,
Yeah.
kind of. And the 0 mana things tend to be quite strong. For example, Lines of Diamond. Lotus Petals, yeah. A key Lotus Petal sets, when you think about Stompy, when you think about, I don't know, Sneak and Show, stuff like that, or Painter, if you don't have the extra mana, this deck is not really good.
Yeah, that's true.
But of course, strictly speaking, it's not that about value all the time.
But the problem I see here is, it's like, if you want to counter the petal or the mana rocks, how do you know when to counter mana rocks?
It
always feels wrong to me.
That's the thing that is a skill that is really hard, and it's exactly the thing why decks like Delver and Shadow and stuff like that can be very difficult, because these are the things that you need to know then, and there is not really a right answer to that at the moment. Typically, you just want to hit them at the right spot, that they stumble for one. That if this card is worth 1 extra turn for you, I think this is
very
very strong.
Batshit insane, yeah.
Yeah, it's very insane. If that happens, for example, that's what I think is the potential for this card. It may be that you're right, definitely. I think it's not that clear.
Okay, you got me here. It's not clear.
It's not that clear,
that
yeah.
easy that I thought it was.
Only I think what I just read from Twitter. Rodrigo Tocoris tested it as in, I don't know in which deck actually, I need to check, but he tested Minor Misstep and I think another card, and he mentioned that every time he drew it, it was amazing for him.
Okay.
I mean, it was a limited experience, you can't really say.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think would be a kind of exciting. I think it would be nice to see where this card is going. Oppressive, I don't think so.
No, for sure not. I'm pretty sure it has put. You got me here that it has potential.
Yeah,
but that's far away from being oppressive or anything of the.
This
Twitter
is also
drama
not
that
what
we
I'm
had.
saying. This is also not what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
I can see it as a 1 or 2 of in some decks that want to utilize the tempo aspect.
yeah, to have it at the right spot can be great.
And yeah, basically the era where how Spell Snare was played in Legacy was like the era where Rakdelver was really strong, and the 3 good threats in Rakdelver were Tarmogoyf, Ren 6, and Dreaded Arcanist. Was a wild time. But there was Spell Snare a 1 or even a 2 of, because like the good threats out of Delver were all snareable. And nowadays we have like the one thing that costs 2 is like Expressive Iteration, everything else costs 1, and then you have like Daze, Force of Will, and your Murktide Regents. So with Minor Misstep you get like basically everything out of Delver against their card advantage and their big beater. And yeah, it depends. I can see it even maybe out of a Control Shell as a 1 of maybe. But yeah, I definitely have to rethink of this card.
For sure. Daniel, you're a great debater here.
Yeah, this is just. I think sometimes the first glance that you have on cards is not that easy. But of course, maybe it's just a committed draft. I don't know. I would not really put my whole bet on it. That's for sure.
Then it's completely garbage. And we
Yeah,
won't
could
see
be.
it in Legacy.
Could definitely be.
But yeah, I think this episode gets really technical
Kind of.
now with all the cards, with the report that we had, and with the next topic coming up.
Yeah.
But actually, you guys have to tell me something about it, because I gotta admit, I haven't read anything of it. I know I haven't done my homework, and that's why I'm bad at Magic. But I need to do it. But yeah.
I think when it comes to this topic, I kind of stumbled on it over Twitter, and did not study it extensively. But it is
that's what you said. Yeah.
It is one
3 o'clock in the morning, writing everything, the whole cyborg guides and plans. And
I'm a really, really huge fan of Michael Flores. And I'm not sure if the listeners actually know this name, but this is one of the oldest theoretical Magic writers ever. In my opinion, one of the best Magic theorists in the world. Because he's also famously, hopefully to anybody, known for being the author to Who is the Beatdown, arguably the best Magic article of all time.
Completely agree on this. Yeah.
And he made a new article.
Have you read it?
No.
Yeah. You really, really need to read it. Oh yeah, this is one of the first lessons to learn, actually. I mean, we can go with it, but I think I will definitely link it. And Michael Flores has this nice way of his style of writing articles is so different. It's very adventurous and lively. He mentions quotations of people, and then he makes interludes in between, and then he kind of builds up your interest in the topic, and then backing it up with stories. He's a good storyteller as well. And his newest article is about Modern Burn. And it's about finding the 3 gears, as he called it, of Modern Burn. So the idea is that typically when you think about Modern Burn, a very simple deck, right? He kind of brings up the idea that even if the deck is rather simple, when you want to master it, you have to shift gears. Hence, these 3 gears, depending on your situation, depending on this backup theory of Who is the Beatdown, on how to operate your deck. The first thing is, for example, the most simple thing that everybody kind of agrees on, Modern is a combo deck, the first gear. So that Modern is just a combo deck. You know, you have 7 spells of 3 damage, and then you kill your opponent. Just assemble the combo. That's fine. But if you play it in such a way, oftentimes when you face distinct situations, it gives examples also on that, you might lose because you chose the wrong gear, your wrong strategy behind it. The next one would be Suppression, from what he thinks Burn switches into more of a control deck. So the idea would be to prevent your opponent from executing their strategy. For example, if they have some key creatures, you bolt them, for example, if you really want to stumble them. And then you kind of switch your gear, depending on what kind of situation you face. And for example, a good example of this would actually be Delver. Legacy Burn, this is now a different deck, of course, but Legacy Burn is designed to, or should operate as a control deck against Delver. You just bolt all creatures, and you don't go face, because you could be out-tempoed pretty easily. Yeah, and the last thing would be inevitability. This would be something that you would do when you are playing against control decks, that the longer the game goes, your Modern deck, even inevitably, will reach its goals, I think. All your cards will deal damage, and then you kill your opponent, this the idea. And I have to look it up, but I think one of the examples for that would be a situation where he had to suspend the Rift Bolt even when there was a Teferi, the Time Raveler, on board.
No, he had his opponent on 3 lands, and he suspended the Rift Bolt so that he knew his opponent will snap the Teferi into play, he gets the Rift Bolt out there, and then he just casts 3 burn spells because his
Yeah.
mana was down. And kill his opponent.
Very beautiful.
That's very
beautiful.
nice, yeah. Typically, you think, okay, I have to play around the fairy and stuff like that, but you could just, kind of force it out,
And overload your opponent.
overload your opponent in that sense, and that's the inevitability third gear.
Very, very beautiful line.
And a lot of these kind of examples are given in the whole article, backed up by a beautiful story, and having these three distinct theoretical aspects of a simple burn deck. And I think this really makes this article outstanding.
Yeah, it was a really, really great read. I can absolutely recommend the article. It was beautiful to read into it because like he personally gets a little bit of personal feedback, where he comes from, who he is, who he talked with, and stuff like that. It was like it was like a conversation with
Yes.
another guy who just introduces him to you. It was like really, really, really strong of a read, and definitely can recommend it. I think I took a few of those things with me, and I think this is a good thing because like we learn we study way too less for playing Magic actually.
True. So I think for Philip, you need to read this article.
And
Actually, yeah, for sure. I need to take a deep dive in because I don't know. Actually, it's
There's
just
a lot of-
I don't have that much time anymore at the moment. I certainly need to step up my game.
There's a lot of stuff out there, you know. There is the old dojo, that is the kind of website, the first Magic Theory website where Michael Flores and lots of other guys were authors there and published a lot of articles. And I think, was it in 1999 or something like this, when was Who is the Beatdown was published? I think the dojo was already 1995 or 4 out there. It was really the first website. But there's an archive, a web archive of the dojo available online. So you can have a look at all the articles.
Yeah.
Certainly need to take a look there.
and you definitely have to read Who's the Beatdown.
Yeah, you also, Peter.
And did you know, and there's one kind of anecdote to this, at every article end, Mike Flores writes, "Love Mike."
Oh, that's cute. I love it.
And the thing is, the reason why he does that is he also writes this in capital letters, and he also likes to transcript his own articles. And when you read it, it says, "Love Mike," always in that kind of sense, which almost sounds like a command. You must love Mike. He kind of subconsciously wants people to love him. That's the idea why he always writes at the end, "Love Mike."
Okay, that's cute.
Yeah. So here's these all little games going on in this little hints and stuff like this. This is really, really good.
So I think we are sharing sharing the links in our show notes.
Absolutely.
So actually, all I have to do is click on the show notes, and then I go to the article and don't have to write you on WhatsApp anymore.
Yeah, true.
Perfect. So all listeners can do the same.
I think it should be now the third or fourth time that we should link Who is the Beatdown? Because we talked about it like in every 5th to 10th episode.
Yeah,
But we still didn't read it.
Yeah, you know why? Because I'm always the one who makes the show notes about 3 to 4 days after we record, and it's like, well, what did we do?
Yeah, it's difficult.
What did we talk about? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And then I simply can't reach out to you or to you. Okay, well, I think we are wrapping it up here. It was really a great show again. The next time we have our 50th episode.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do something special for it.
We can do an AMA or a Q&A, and I don't know.
Yeah, and ask us anything would be great, but do you really think we get enough
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
questions in?
Just
That
let it
depends
come
on you, listeners, guys. You really need to step up and give us the questions that you need or want us answered.
For an Ask Us Anything. Would be really cool to have something like that for the 50th episode. Okay, I think if you like what we are doing, consider following us on social media. It's at response_legacy. Also, write us for and ask us anything, all your questions. You can find me on Twitter. It's at PhinikMTG, PhinikMTG. Daniel, where can we find you?
You can also find me on Twitter. It is at Flying Delver there, breakfasting. Where can you find Peter?
You can find me painting on Twitter. It's at Unicorn Lord, but the O in the Lord is a 0.
In response,
The end.
This was In Response, a Legacy podcast. If you enjoyed the ride, feel free to support the show by following, leaving a review, or subscribe on patreon.com/response_legacy.